Have you ever wondered why some people seem to walk into blessings while you've been praying for the same breakthrough for years? Why does it feel like abundance always finds everyone else but somehow passes you by? Before you answer that question, stay with me, because what you're about to hear may completely change the way you think about God's blessings. There is one truth that most people never discover, and because of that, they unknowingly block the very abundance they've been praying for. If you're listening to this message today, perhaps it isn't by accident. Perhaps God has brought you here because He's preparing to do something you've never imagined. There are seasons in life when it feels like you're giving everything you have, yet receiving almost nothing in return. You work hard, you pray faithfully, you try to do the right thing, yet the doors never seem to open. Bills continue to pile up, relationships become difficult, dreams begin to fade. Slowly, you start believing that maybe abundance was never meant for someone like you. But that's exactly where fear wants you to stay. Fear has a quiet voice. It tells you to expect less from life. It convinces you that disappointment is normal and that hope only leads to heartbreak. After hearing those lies long enough, many people stop expecting miracles altogether. They survive instead of living. They settle instead of believing. But God never created you merely to survive. The first step towards abundance isn't found in your bank account, your career, or your circumstances. It begins in your heart. Because whatever controls your heart will eventually shape your future. Imagine a farmer standing in an empty field. To everyone else, it's just dirt. There are no flowers, no harvest, no signs of life. But the farmer doesn't panic because he understands something others don't. He knows that a harvest always begins long before anyone can see it. He plants seeds with confidence even when the ground looks lifeless. Faith works the same way. God often begins His greatest blessings where human eyes see nothing. While you're looking at empty fields, He's already preparing the harvest beneath the surface. While you're worried about what you don't have, He's working on what you cannot yet see. The problem is that many people give up during the invisible season. They stop praying because nothing appears to be changing. They stop believing because the answer didn't arrive quickly enough. They mistake silence for absence. But just because God is quiet doesn't mean He isn't working. Think about your own life for a moment. How many times has something that looked like a disappointment later turned out to be a blessing? Maybe you lost a job that eventually led you to a better opportunity. Maybe a relationship ended only because God was protecting you from years of pain. Maybe a closed door forced you towards a path you never would have chosen on your own, a path that ultimately became one of the greatest gifts of your life. Sometimes abundance arrives disguised as disappointment. God sees the entire picture while we only see today's chapter. We become frustrated because we judge our lives by what we can see today, but God is building something that stretches far beyond this moment. Real abundance is much deeper than money. It's waking up with peace in your heart. It's having strength when life becomes difficult. It's finding hope when everyone else has given up. It's knowing that no matter what happens tomorrow, you're not walking through it alone. When your heart becomes rooted in that truth, everything begins to change. You stop comparing your journey with everyone else's. You stop measuring God's faithfulness by temporary circumstances. You begin to trust that even delays have purpose. Every season becomes an opportunity to grow instead of another reason to complain. The truth is, God isn't trying to keep abundance away from you. He's preparing you to carry it without letting it destroy you. Because blessings without wisdom often become burdens. That's why character always comes before promotion. Humility comes before influence. Faith comes before favor. Perhaps today you're standing in what feels like an empty field. Nothing around you suggests that your prayers are being answered. But don't judge the harvest by today's appearance. Seeds don't grow overnight. They develop quietly beneath the surface until the right moment arrives. And maybe, just maybe, your season of waiting isn't proof that God has forgotten you.
Maybe it's proof that He's preparing something far greater than you've been able to imagine.
The greatest obstacle between you and abundance is rarely your circumstances. More often, it's the voice inside your own mind telling you that nothing will ever change. That voice grows louder after every disappointment. It reminds you of every failure, every rejection, every unanswered prayer. Eventually, it convinces you to expect less from life, because expecting more feels too painful. But what if that voice isn't telling you the truth? Think about a child learning to walk. Before taking those first confident steps, the child falls again and again. No loving parent watches those falls and says, "You'll never walk." Instead, every fall is seen as part of the journey. The child doesn't stop trying because falling isn't the end. It's proof that progress is happening. God often sees your life the same way. The mistakes you've made don't surprise Him. The failures that keep you awake at night don't define your future. What matters is not how many times you've fallen, but whether you're willing to get back up one more time. Too many people allow one painful season to become their permanent identity. They say, "I'm broke, I'm unlucky, nothing good ever happens to me." Over time, those words become beliefs, and those beliefs begin to shape their decisions. They stop applying for opportunities because they expect rejection. They stop dreaming because disappointment feels more familiar than hope. But abundance begins with expectation. Not blind optimism, not pretending problems don't exist. Real expectation is believing that God is still working even when you can't yet see the evidence. It's waking up each morning with the quiet confidence that your story is still unfolding. Remember the darkest nights of your life? At the time, you probably thought they would never end. Yet somehow, morning came. Looking back, you realize that what felt permanent was only temporary. The same will be true for the challenge you're facing today. God specializes in changing impossible situations. He opens doors that no human can open. He creates opportunities where none seem to exist. He restores what people believed was permanently lost. But before He changes your circumstances, He often changes your perspective. Because once your perspective changes, fear begins to lose its power. Imagine carrying a backpack filled with heavy stones every day. After a while, the weight feels normal because you've carried it for so long. Then someone gently removes the backpack. Suddenly, you realize how much it had been slowing you down. Many people carry emotional backpacks filled with guilt, resentment, fear, comparison, and regret. They pray for abundance while still carrying burdens that keep their hearts trapped in the past. You cannot fully embrace tomorrow if you're constantly chained to yesterday. Forgiveness is one of the greatest acts of freedom. Sometimes it's forgiving someone who hurt you. Sometimes it's forgiving yourself for the decisions you wish you could change. Healing begins the moment you stop allowing your past to control your future. God never intended your wounds to become your identity. They are chapters in your story, not the title of your life. Perhaps today you're wondering why your breakthrough hasn't arrived. Maybe God isn't simply preparing the blessing. Maybe He's preparing your heart to recognize it when it comes. Because true abundance isn't just receiving more. It's becoming someone who can appreciate, protect, and wisely use everything God places into your hands. The waiting season is not empty. It's full of unseen growth. Every prayer is strengthening your faith. Every challenge is building your character.
Every delay is shaping you into the person you'll need to become when the blessing finally arrives. So don't lose hope because the field still looks empty. Beneath the surface, roots are growing. And when the right season comes, what God has been preparing in silence will become visible to everyone.
There is something powerful about reaching the point where you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and begin asking, "God, what are you trying to teach me through this?" That single question has the power to transform frustration into purpose. It shifts your focus away from what you've lost and toward what you're becoming. Many people spend their entire lives chasing abundance without realizing they've been looking in the wrong direction. They believe that if they could just earn more money, own a bigger house, or receive more recognition, then they would finally feel complete. But countless people have gained everything they thought they wanted and still felt empty inside. Why? Because abundance isn't something you collect, it's something you cultivate. Imagine two gardens planted on the same day. One gardener waters the soil every morning, removes the weeds, and patiently waits. The other checks the ground every few hours, becomes frustrated when nothing appears, and eventually walks away. Months later, one garden is overflowing with life, while the other remains dry and empty. The difference wasn't the seed. The difference was persistence. Your faith works exactly the same way. Every prayer is a seed. Every act of kindness is a seed. Every decision to trust God instead of fear is another seed planted into your future. You may not see immediate results, but that doesn't mean nothing is happening. The greatest miracles often grow in silence. Think about how quietly the sunrise arrives. There is no loud announcement, no dramatic warning. Darkness simply gives way to light. In the same way, God's blessings often appear when you least expect them. One ordinary day becomes the day that changes everything. That's why you must never allow temporary disappointment to steal your eternal hope. Perhaps you've been comparing your life to everyone around you. You see other people celebrating victories while you're still waiting for your own. Social media makes it seem as if everyone else is living a perfect life. But remember this, you are comparing your private struggles to someone else's public highlights. God never asked you to compete with anyone else's journey. Your assignment is different. Your timing is different. Your purpose is different. The blessing meant for someone else could never replace the one God has prepared specifically for you. So stop measuring your progress against people who were given a completely different path to walk. Instead, celebrate every small victory. Celebrate the strength that kept you going when you wanted to quit. Celebrate the wisdom you've gained through difficult seasons. Celebrate the fact that you're still standing after everything you've been through. Those victories matter. Sometimes we pray for open doors while ignoring the opportunities already standing in front of us. God often blesses the small steps before He reveals the larger ones. Faithfulness in little things prepares us for greater responsibilities. Ask yourself today, what blessing have I overlooked because it seemed too ordinary? Maybe it's the people who love you. Maybe it's another chance to begin again. Maybe it's the strength to face one more day. Gratitude changes the atmosphere of the heart. When you begin noticing what God has already done, your faith grows stronger for what He is about to do. Never underestimate the power of a thankful heart. It sees possibilities where others only see problems. It finds peace in the middle of uncertainty.
It believes that even when life doesn't go according to plan, God is still writing a story that will be worth telling. So, hold on a little longer. Keep planting seeds of faith. Keep speaking words of hope. Keep walking with courage, because abundance is not simply a destination waiting somewhere in the future. It begins the moment you trust that God's goodness is already working in your life, even before you can see the evidence with your own eyes.
As this message comes to an end, I want you to pause for just a moment and think about everything you've been carrying. The worries that keep you awake at night, the prayers that seem unanswered, the dreams you've almost given up on, the burdens you've carried in silence because you didn't want anyone to know how much you were hurting. Now, imagine placing every one of those burdens into God's hands. Not because you have all the answers, not because life suddenly becomes easy, but because you've decided to trust the one who sees what you cannot. Faith is not pretending that problems don't exist. Faith is believing that your problems are never bigger than God's power. It is choosing peace in the middle of uncertainty. It is believing that even when nothing around you changes, God is still changing something within you. One day, you'll look back at this season and realize that it wasn't just about waiting for abundance. It was about becoming the kind of person who could receive abundance with wisdom, humility, and gratitude. The delay taught you patience. The struggle built your character. The uncertainty strengthened your faith. The disappointment protected you from settling for less than God's best. And through it all, God never stopped walking beside you. If you're listening to this today and you've been wondering whether your breakthrough will ever come, let this be the reminder your heart needed. Don't stop believing. Don't stop praying. Don't stop hoping, because the same God who opened doors in the past is still opening doors today. The same God who carried you through yesterday is already waiting for you in tomorrow. What seems impossible in human eyes is never impossible for Him. Maybe your abundance won't arrive in the way you expected. Maybe it will come through a new opportunity, a restored relationship, a fresh beginning, an unexpected answer to a prayer you've almost forgotten. However it comes, trust that God's timing is always wiser than our own. Keep your heart free from bitterness. Keep your mind filled with hope. Keep your eyes focused on His promises instead of your fears. Because abundance is not just about what you receive, it's about the peace you carry, the joy you share, the love you give, the faith you refuse to lose. And when your heart is filled with those things, you'll discover that God's richest blessings have been surrounding you all along. If this message encouraged your heart today, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to God Message Global, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another message of hope and faith. Share this video with someone who may need God's encouragement today, and leave a comment below saying, "I believe God's abundance is on its way." Your words of faith may inspire someone else to keep believing. May God fill your life with peace, strengthen your faith, guide every step you take, and surround you with His love, His grace, and His abundant blessings. Thank you for watching, and may God bless you always.